It's that time of year where we look back and realize 2021 was crap. There's no good games.
It really wasn't. We had to split our list into each having our own list because there were so many good games.
So many games to talk about. 2021 recap. Let's go.
3, 2, 1, go.
It's been a crazy end of the year, Mike.
It's been busy.
We're like, oh God, we got to do our end of the year list.
Yeah,
because
we were busy playing all of Gloomhaven.
which you should check out. It's the
card
greatest
right
video
there.
we've ever made. I honestly
best thing
believe
we
that.
ever made.
Follow the card because please watch
Follow
it. It's incredible.
Watch it
I love
while you
it.
watch this, but don't.
But it's
watch
also we're
this,
like, oh
watch
gosh,
that.
we got to do our. We wanted this to come out today, and we're like, oh, we need to film that.
So now we're doing it.
Here we go.
We're filming it, but this is time where we look back on the year and, it's like you always wonder, was it a good year of gaming?
It was.
We start looking back and writing down these lists of games. I'm like, yes, it was a great year for board
It
games.
always is a great year in board games.
I'm
That's the
surprised
thing.
any games came out at all. And not only did games come out, really great ones came out.
Yeah,
so
they really.
we're lucky.
I will say one thing about my list, Mikey, is my list skews pretty light.
Yes, I have skewed lighter as well because I think there's the collective brain drain of
Yes.
the era. And so I don't have many. I have 2 games on the bigger side, I would say.
Yeah.
And everything else is on the lighter side.
But also, I will say with that is every year since we haven't played everything that came out this year, and
Yeah.
a lot of the kind of heavier games that we really want to play, we haven't had a chance to play. Like I will tell you right now, Boone Lake maybe would have been number 1 if we had got
Arc
a chance
Nova
to play.
probably will be way up
Arc
there
Nova
too,
probably would have
but
been on the list.
they're not out
Maybe
here.
Corrosion. There's a lot of capstone games, frankly, that we haven't had a chance to play. And so I'm like, oh, my list is pretty light. But I'm like, oh yeah, but actually we haven't had a chance to play like the heavier games
Yeah,
this
so
year.
we might do like midway next year, do a look back on other games we played, or there's always our game discoveries list we do at the end of the year where we talk about games that didn't come out this year that we discovered.
Yeah.
Those will probably appear
Boone Lake
in the
don't be
future.
on that list. Yeah.
So just know that. We haven't, of course, played everything, but we did play some stuff.
We did play something. Let's go ahead and get into it right now with our number 10s. My number 10 is a game that I think might have been higher if we had played it. We played it a couple times when we first got here, and then we haven't played it very much since, and that is Hadrian's Wall.
Yes.
But I really like Hadrian's Wall because something we've been talking
really
about for a
good.
long time is like, I want a big, beefy roll and write.
Yes.
Roll and writes tend to be filler games, which is great, and I like that for the most part. But every once in a while, I want a big, beefy roll and write.
Yeah.
And Hadrian's Wall is that. This is a game where it's the theme and stuff is like old ancient Rome, but it's basically a bunch of different places where you're marking off stuff. But this is kind of an interesting one because you're getting like colored meeples, like different kinds of workers.
Yeah.
And you're using those workers, you're turning them back in
Certain
to do
colors
other
can go to
stuff,
certain things,
to go to
yeah.
certain areas. And it's very much one of those games where you're trying to extend your turn. Because you're doing this, you go here, and this gives you like a yellow worker. You're like, oh, now I can spend this yellow worker over here, and that'll give me a blue worker. And
Or
then
some stone
and you're just
or-
kind of, if you play Paladins, which is made by Shem Phillips as well, if you're made by Garfield Games rather, it's a lot of that. You're trying to extend your turn as long as possible, and it's really fun, really, really satisfying, really cool, big, beefy roll and write that you look at and you're like, that's a lot of stuff. And it is, but it's really, really good. I really like Hadrian's Wall a lot. I think it might be a little bit higher. We've just been busy and haven't played it in a little bit, but I really like Hadrian's Wall a lot.
Absolutely. My number 10 is a criminally underrated game.
It is.
Mandala Stones.
It
from
did
Board
hit
and
our
Dice.
list, yes.
It's such a good game where you are taking these colorful stones and you are collecting them. You have to kind of move a pawn around. It's very abstract. You
Yes.
move a pawn around.
There's no theme.
Then where your artist lands, you collect stones of a certain pattern. There's 2 possible patterns.
Yeah.
You're going to create these stacks on your player board. And then once you have some stacks built up, you can start doing scores based on the color that is on the top. So
Yeah.
if I had purple, anything that has purple on top of a stack, I get to collect those, and you score based on the heights of the stacks. Now, every stack wants to be a different height, meaning the most valuable disc might be on the bottom or the second one up or in the very top. So you kind of want to build it in such a way that you're trying to maximize that scoring.
Yeah.
And you kind of sequence, because if I take off a bunch of purple, I ideally will have a bunch of blue underneath it,
Yeah.
or the same color. So on the next turn, I can do another big scoring.
Yeah.
So there's really fun, interesting stuff. There's a little expansion coming for it early in the new year. They'll add some wild stones and stuff, but it's just like a beautiful, abstract game, like an Azul or something where it's just really pretty and a fun little puzzle to put together. Mandala Stones is my number 10. It's just really stinking
good.
solid.
Just missed my list. It's really, really good.
Quite like it. That's our number 10. Let's get to number 9. Design number 9 is a complete surprise to me. It is Seven Wonders Architects.
Most of my stuff, if it's on Mike's list but not on mine, it's mostly because I figured it'd be on your
Same,
list.
vice versa. We try to diversify on purpose.
Yeah, we tried to diversify on purpose. I would have put this on there, but I knew you were
Seven
gonna
Wonders Architects is a complete surprise because
It really was.
We're not like huge fans of Seven Wonders.
I'll tell you
It's
straight
a
up,
fine
I
game.
flat out don't like Seven Wonders.
Okay, I do like Seven
Yeah.
Wonders, but I'm not going to seek it out. But Seven Wonders Architects, I would seek out because
Yeah.
I think that the things they do make it just a little bit easier to play because you're not handing hands of cards over. You're not
Yes.
passing those around.
So
instead,
easy.
you have kind of decks of cards you can draw from the left or the right. So you get a little bit of that like interaction with your neighbors, but it's very minimal. And you're now trying to use the resources and things that you're familiar with from the Seven Wonders games to build a kind of a monument. It's all centered around your monument that you're building. And it's just really fun. It's very light. It takes things simple where it's like, now you don't have to worry about specifically wood or brick or stone. It's just, I need 3 of the same resource.
Yeah.
If that's brick or stone or whatever. So
So
long as
much
it's 3 of the
easier.
same thing or 3 different things. It's just easy to understand.
Yes.
And so like, I appreciate the speed of that.
Such a shock.
It feels like asymmetrical because the little wonder that you're building is different. It might give you different powers and things or different abilities. So I'm like, that's cool. It's kind of like asymmetric powers. I like it. I think it's a beautiful production. Everything comes in its own little like tray, so it's organized well.
It really is.
I want to get this game because I think this would probably become our most played Seven Wonders game.
Oh, for sure.
Over all the rest of the types.
For sure.
Completely surprised by it. Seven Wonders Architects rips hard.
Good call. Yeah, that one was a big, if we ever do a top 10 games that surprise us list, which is a list I
is
want to do again this
way
year,
up there.
that one's way up there. My number 9 is actually another roll and write, and that is Riverside. This is a game we played at BGCon, which is where we also played Seven Wonders Architects.
game.
That you had heard about, I had never heard about, and you kind of just grabbed, and it's just a charming little roll and write. It's nothing like super groundbreaking, but I just really like it. This is a game where you're up in kind of like an Alaska type area, somewhere up
great
the northern
northern
lights,
expanse.
very, up in the Yukon or something like that. And you're essentially taking people on expeditions, and everyone's kind of
You're on a
going on the
river cruise.
same. Yeah, you're on a riverboat. Yeah, a river cruise. And so you're kind of going around and you're taking people on these expeditions and you're rolling out these dice. And then these dice have different colors. And basically whatever like the median dice is, like the middle one, that one, all the ones below it will go beneath this little tile. And the ones that are on top
temperature tile.
will kind of go up. And the ones that are on top are like hot dice, and because they're worth more. And so you can't use those very often because you can only use kind of like the fire dice a certain amount of times throughout the game. So a lot of times you're taking lower dice, but you're essentially filling in these little bubbles and taking people on these expeditions and stuff. And as the boat, your little river cruise is going along, you're coming across different, essentially like ports. And the ports will be like, this is the green port, this is the pink port, this is the yellow port. And depending on how many seats you filled in for that excursion, you can then score a certain amount of points. And it's very, very easy. This is one of those games where it's like you can play with an infinite amount of people.
Yeah.
We play it on like Twitch and things like that because we're like, yeah, you could just play it with as many people as you want.
Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Murph.
It's great. But I really liked it. I think it's super charming. It's one of those, there's a billion roll and writes now, and here's the thing, I still love every freaking one of them.
They're very fun to
I'm not gonna
play.
lie, it's not the last roll and write on my list. I just love the mechanic. I think they're so charming, and I liked Riverside a lot.
It's a great pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on my short list for sure. It's just absolutely awesome. It's just a charming little roll and write. Sometimes that's what I want.
That's
is it
what
to
I
be
want
charming.
a
It's
lot
not
of the
too
time.
deep or crazy. It looks beautiful. I'm happy.
Great. I love it. Riverside's my number 9. Let's go and get number 8s. My number 8 is a game that, again, like I wasn't really expecting much for, and actually I thought I might dislike, and that is Whirling Witchcraft.
Oh, yeah.
Because Whirling Witchcraft is confrontational. Because the whole how you win the game
in its way.
is by overloading your opponents. You're essentially doing these spells and getting these, essentially turning different kind of potion ingredients into different kind of potion ingredients.
Just
But whatever
transmuting
you transmute, you then send to one of your opponents. And what you're trying to do is then they have to take those ingredients and put them on their board. And you only have a certain amount of slots for each kind of ingredient. And if you ever have to put down more than you have space for, those then go back to the player and they score points. And the first person to score essentially 5 points wins the game.
So you're directly trying to overwhelm your opponent.
You're just constantly sending them stuff and overwhelming them. But at the same time, your other opponent is also sending you stuff. So you're trying to deal with the people trying to overload you, and then you're also trying to overload someone else. And so it's very confrontational because
It's
that's the whole
confrontational,
point.
but you don't directly mess. Like
No.
I can't break what you build.
that's why
but I'm trying to build an engine that you can't handle.
Yeah,
which is
I
a
thought
fun
I
way
wasn't
go
going to
about
like it because I thought it was going to be super mean, but it doesn't feel mean. It just feels like, this is just what
Everyone's
you do.
doing the same thing.
Yeah,
so.
and so that was, I was such a surprise because I was like, man, this is a game that seems cool, but like, I'm not really into mean games. We'll see how it goes. And I absolutely loved it. We played it mostly 2-player, which works really, really well. But recently we got to play it 4-player.
Yeah, it's really
And I was
great.
like, oh, it's even better at 4-player. I'm like, great. That's even. I'm over the moon about.
It's all simultaneous play and engine
Yes,
building.
it's
You're
quick,
building an
too.
engine to, again, deal with those ingredients that are coming
Yeah.
in and turn them out. So it's like there's a lot of fun stuff.
It's great
that happens.
Weberson
It's very
Santiago
quick.
art. I love Weberson Santiago. Yeah, Worldly Witchcraft I thought was outstanding.
kinda
And-
Halloween-y game.
And really. And a good little surprise for me. I wasn't really expecting to like it that much. And I did like it a lot,
I
obviously.
respect that.
Yeah.
My number 8 is from Praise Be, Phil Walker Harding.
Praise be.
Keep making your games, my friend, because
This wasn't
it's
on my list
another-
because I knew it was going to
It's
be
not a
on Mike's.
polyomino tile laying stacking game. It is the midpoint between Barren Park and Gingerbread House.
Yep.
Phil steals from the best. Phil steals from Phil.
It's true.
Llama Land is a
Praise
great
be.
game where you are taking these polyomino tiles and you are building out kind of a base, and then you can build on top of that base and build up. And as you build up, you start covering up icons, which start generating resources. They might give you these villagers, which come with abilities and powers, which you can start using every turn. So there's a bit of engine building with that, where you can start converting resources into another. You can get money, and you're ultimately trying to feed llamas because that's the best thing you could
Because
possibly
of
do in a
course
day
you
is
are.
feed llamas food like cocoa and corn and potatoes. And you were trying to collect those for points ultimately. So it's a fantastic spatial puzzle game. That's something that Phil Walker Harding is just like
The best.
he knows how to do that so well. And this one has a charming theme, and the whole like building
tough.
out and then building up is a puzzle.
It's
and
tough.
it's something you have to put together.
It's one of his heavier games. Now it's heavy for Phil Walker Harding.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
It's a nice little challenge and stuff. There's some objectives you can go for, but I love the ability to get those villagers and start doing some engine building stuff because every turn you can use all of your villagers once. So I can take a coin, make it some corn. I can take that corn, turn it into a potato. I can take that potato and those other potatoes and feed a llama. Like you can build a beautiful sequence, and then just the puzzle of building it up and everything and putting these adorable little llamas down. It's cute. It's satisfying. It's accessible and easy, and it's
production.
puzzly. Good production. Llama Land rips. Horde. It's a very high on the list Phil Walker Harding game for me already. Number 8 overall in 2021.
Praise be.
Praise be to ye. Praise be, sweet prince. We love Phil Walker Harding. Drop some praise bees in chat for Phil. We appreciate you.
Please.
In the meantime, let's get to number 7. So my number 7 is about aliens, but it's also just a nice Euro game from Board and Dice. It's
Yeah,
very
I
much a
would've put this
board
on
and
my
dice
list.
type of game because it's got a board, and guess what? It's got some dice.
Boom.
In this game, it reimagines it like, hey, what if all the pyramids and stuff were built by aliens, or rather with alien technology guiding you? And this leans into that, where now you're building out a kind of city with these different tiles that will give you abilities and stuff. You're visiting these kind of discovery sites with motherships and things, but it's all, again, we use Tasty Glue to paste on a theme over some really
That's my
solid
main
Euro
issue with it,
mechanisms.
yeah. It's like this theme is very pasted on, which to be fair, all Board and Dice's themes are pasted on.
Most board games themes are
Are
pasted
pasted on, but I
To be
I
fair.
do wish it was the gameplay was a little bit more thematic. This probably still would have made my list. Again, I figure Mike could put it on there. Tabanusi also probably could have made my list.
We've
really
only
liked-
played it once, so I imagine it'll be on
that's
the
my
list
thought
in
too. That we've
future
only
plays.
played it once, but I really like Origins too.
Yeah, Origins is just super solid. I like the whole way you use dice, your kind of citizen dice, to activate spaces. You can essentially retire them. They become seats of power. As you build out your city, everything's kind of color dependent. You really want to match colors if you can.
Yes.
Because if I take a red die and I put it in a seat of power surrounded by red tiles, I get to reactivate all those tiles that match that die. So you're really kind of thinking of a lot of things. You're managing the value of those dice. You, of course, want them to be as valuable as possible. They age up similar to like a Teotihuacan. And it's just got a lot of things that I really like. Like Board and Dice makes games right in my happy zone of like, I want to crunch on different mechanisms and things like that. And then the theming of Origins is one that's very kind of beautiful and cool.
Yeah,
And so I'm like,
really cool theme.
hey, like I'm into that. Thanks for doing that. We appreciate it. And that's why it's on my list. Origins first. Builders.
Alrighty, my number 7 is a party game that kind of came out of nowhere for us, and that is So Clover.
Another big surprise game.
Big surprise game in terms of I'd never heard of it. We played it at a lot of these games we played at BGG Con actually. And this is another game by Repos, who made like Just One, and I'm like, man, you're crushing these like simple little party games. But this is
just
oh my
fun,
gosh,
though.
it just works. I played it again at PAX Unplugged to play with like with like Suze, and I played with Crystal and Jeremy Howard. It was so much fun, and Shay. It was just a blast. But this is a game where basically you're given these weird little like dry erase clover board things, and you have these cards that have a clue on each of the 4 sides, those square cards, and you basically will like randomize your cards and then put them in your clover, and essentially each spot on your 4-leaf clover is gonna have 2 clues on it. And then you have to write a clue that pertains to those 2 clues, but the clues are all random. So it's like, it could be like, one I had was like park and robot. And I was like, I don't know how to make a clue that works with both of those. It's kind of like code names that way, where you're trying to match multiple things. Except for this one, you have to match multiple things.
Right.
And then once you've written down your 4 clues, you do this all in secret, it's a co-op game. You then will take out your 4 cards, add a 5th card, shuffle them up, and then you have to put it out and go figure out what my clues were. And they have to arrange
reassemble
them.
the clover.
They have to reassemble the clover in the right way, and it works so dang
You
well.
just would assume you would never be able to make connections, but you totally can.
You totally can, but you also throw in that 5th card, which sometimes one of the clues works perfectly for the 5th card just randomly.
Like-
And so then they're flipping them around, and they have essentially 2 chances to try to get it right, and it just works so dang well. It immediately was like, we need to find this game, we need to buy it, because this is going to be one of my favorite party games ever. Right off the bat. I can just tell you right now, like, I'm not a huge party game guy in general, but this is one where I'm like, this is gonna be an absolute banger every single time for me and people I generally play with.
Yeah, So Clover is really fantastic.
So good.
Gonna be the go-to party game, like you said, for a good
For a
long,
minute, yeah.
long minute.
Super excited to play it more, yeah.
Bam, that's our number 7s, everybody. Get after it. Let's get over to number 6.
Number 6 is a small little game by the same people who made Point Salad, and that is 10. This group of folks are making these small, accessible little games that just work. 10 is a game that, like, it's just a little push your luck game.
Push your luck game with a bit of auctioning,
It
set
just
collection.
works. This is a game where you're flipping over these cards. The cards will be numbered 1 through 9. And essentially you're flipping over a card, and then you can choose to flip over another card. If you ever get to 10, you bust. And
You get to 11
Sorry, 11.
specifically.
Sorry, 11. You don't want to get to 10 is fine. Get to 11, you bust, and then everyone else essentially gets money, essentially currency. But so it's that constant push your luck of trying to decide how far do you push, when do you stop, because what you're trying to do is get sets, because you have numbers 1 through 9, and they have 4 different colors. And so what you want to try to do is get 1 through 9 in each color. That's more or less what you're trying to do. And so it's constantly like, oh, I really want these cards, but like, could I push? And it's just, it's push your luck. You mess up sometimes, it's great. But then also there's these wild cards, which will be like it's a 7, but it's a wild color. It can be any color, or it could be like, this is a pink, but it can be any number, or something like that. And then whenever those cards come out, the whole thing stops and everyone auctions. It's one time around on that card. They bid on the card, and then you can win that card, and then whoever wins it, you then just continue on from there.
Yeah.
But there's also these currency cards, and that's how you get your money to auction with. And the currency cards, when they come out, they subtract from the value. So if you had a 2 and a 7, you're up to 9, but then you draw 5 currency, it goes down to 4, and
Yeah,
it
so
can
you
go
kind
into
of-
the negatives.
Yeah, and you can bust going, if you have
And you can
11
bust
worth
on the
of
currency cards.
so
And so
it's-
it's got these little layers that are super, super simple, but just work. And then it's very, very bright. It's very easy to see. It's colorblind friendly, which is great. And it's just, I don't know, I love 10. I think 10 is so much fun. It's fun at 2, it's fun at 3, it's fun at 4. We've played it a bunch. I really, really, really love 10.
Boom, I respect that, man. That's a good pick indeed. My number 6 was Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
It's the only Terraforming Mars for me.
Basically, I mean, I will definitely play the other
I
Terraforming
will.
Mars, but like, I would just rather play this one, I think, because it keeps a lot of the same stuff in place, but I really enjoy the kind of Race for the Galaxy, Puerto Rico action selection. Like, rather, I want to make sure this phase happens this round. There's 5 phases, and not all of them are going to happen. Only
Especially a
certain ones
two-player game,
will.
yeah.
But, you know, it's like, I'm going to make sure production happens. And because I made this phase happen, I'm also going to get a bonus for choosing. I'm going to get 4 extra mega credits. So it's like, you get that kind of bonus for making the phase happens, but everyone gets to partake in that phase.
Yeah.
That's something that's just really interesting to me. I think it
great
takes
mechanic.
some of the scriptedness of Terraforming Mars in terms of round structure and replaces it with like, well, there are no actions. People aren't doing actions. So when people do actions, you kind of get to this massive amount of stuff. And it builds up in a cool way. It ramps up nicely, but it's the same kind of engine building, get your production levels up high. start spending that money for bigger cards and stuff to terraform the planet. It keeps a lot of the heart of Terraforming Mars present and just speeds things up, makes things smooth. It's just one we really enjoy. I'm like, man, it doesn't take anything away from the other Terraforming Mars, but this definitely adds to it in my book.
Yeah. It's as I said a couple times now, it's like it takes everything I loved about Terraforming Mars, which is I like going up like the tracks in terms of like the heat and the oxygen stuff, and I like the card play, and it takes out all the stuff I did not care about. Like I didn't really care about the board and the area control, and I actively hate the milestones and the awards in Terraforming Mars. I feel like they feel weird. I don't like them at all. Takes away those, and then it adds that kind of race for the galaxy mechanic to it. So it's like you took everything I liked, left out everything I either didn't care about or didn't like, and then added something I really like, and then just streamlined the whole thing. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'll play regular Terraforming Mars, but honestly, I never need to again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it exists digitally. I probably would default to playing it digitally and play Ares Expedition physically.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So number 6, Ares Expedition, super solid. Really enjoyed it. Let's get to our number 5s. So my number 5 is Korra, Rise of an Empire. Now this is a game where you be bumping tracks. You go up a thing, you get to bump this track, which gives you more things, which maybe bumps this track, and you get more things.
You have your own tracks. There's tracks on the board, and you have your own tracks. There's also tracks.
So this is an action selection game that you play over 9 rounds where you are trying to, basically based on your city state, and they're asymmetric that way, you're going to maybe have a different focus. You might want to do more military stuff, exploring the world. You might want to be really economic and get a lot of money and stuff and play these politics cards, which will give you endgame scoring, persistent abilities, one-off.
A bunch of stuff.
Boons and things for you. It's a game that's just really satisfying because you kind of roll these dice and you choose a couple of actions to do, and then you kind of bump up these tracks, which will give you, so now when you do your military stronger, so if you do an Explorer action, you get more troops before you do an Explorer action, so you kind of become stronger and stronger in that area, or you can bump up your tax track so that you get more money everywhere. You know, there's just a lot of things to kind of explore and stuff, and you're trying to get these major and minor knowledge tokens, which you then can have along with spending money to play these politics cards. And so I just feel like you get to do a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. It really ramps up.
It's pretty quick,
and,
especially too.
It's just got a lot of the stuff that we like. Like I like going up tracks because I feel like I can see my progression through the game. I've done, even if I don't win, and I don't think I ever have one, I feel like, look, I made these things happen.
Level 10 on that track.
Yeah, so there's some tangible proof that I did something,
that I was
which is
here.
nice. So
I really like it. One thing I like about it is, like, again, you have city states, which means everyone's a little bit different. But then those politic cards, a lot of them are like persistent effects. And so it's like, by the end of the game, it's like you're kind of playing totally different stuff than everyone else. Because
you'll have
it's
kind
like,
of a crazy engine.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and you draft those politics cards at the start of the game, so that can really basically, you got to get them played.
You can push yourself in directions,
you can be like, okay, this is the direction I'm going to go now.
Yeah, I think
really
it's
cool.
Really good. I like Korra a lot.
That's my number 5. It's just solid, and it plays quick, and you get a lot done.
Yeah. My number 5 is the last roll and write on this, and this is also a big, beefy roll and write, and that is the Rar and Write.
It's so good.
The Dinosaur Island Rar and Write is my number 5. I think, again, it's a big, beefy roll and write. It's like a 45-minute game. I'm like, okay, let's go. It's kind of like Hadrian's Wall. I'm like, let's go. And this is, I like the Dinosaur Island, Dinosaur World, Dulosaur Island. I like that universe a lot. I love the art. I love the theme. I like the idea. I like theme parks as a theme. I love Jurassic Park as a theme. This is all of that. And the thing about Dinosaur, the Rar and Write, is that it kind of bridges the gap between, it's kind of like half Dinosaur Island, half Dinosaur World. And I'm kind of like, okay, cool. I kind of like that midpoint. And honestly, like at this point, I think of the 4 games, Dinosaur Island, Dulosaur Island, Dinosaur World, and the Roar and Write, I think in the end, I will end up liking the Roar and Write the most.
I kind of feel like it's going to be the most played.
Oh, it'll definitely be the most played,
because
for sure.
Dinosaur Island and Dinosaur World, while fun, are a lot to get to a table.
Really fun.
Roar and Write is
and you
just
get a
much
similar
easier.
feel.
Yeah, you get a similar feel.
But it's just so good. And so again, it's the same kind of thing. You're building out these dinos, but kind of like Dinosaur World is you're also going on a tour through your park, which I think is a really cool thing, and something that Dinosaur Island is honestly missing.
Yeah.
And so you do that, but then what's nice about it too is like you have your 3 basic like specialists you can get, but then in the game there's gonna be 3 more just randomly chosen specialists, and there's gonna be normal buildings you can get like merch stores and food stores, but there's also gonna be 3 random buildings you can put out. So the game is always going to be different
Yeah.
based off of what things come out. And then it's just like so much fun and combo-tastic. And it's just like, I was like, wow, this is so freaking good. I think in the end, it's going to be my favorite of all the dinosaur
I think so too. I think it
games.
definitely has that possibility.
And I really like them all. And this one I think is going to end up being the top. I really like the Roar and Ride a lot. I can't wait to play it more. And again, I like beefy roll and rides, and I just like roll and rides in general. So,
Boom.
so yeah, that is my number 5. Which is the Roar and Ride. It's outstanding. Yep.
Boom. There you go. Let's get to number 4.
My number 4 is a game that throughout the year, because we stream or we're on, on YouTube here, people constantly ask like, hey, what's your favorite game of the year? What's your favorite game of the year? And this has been my answer the vast majority of the year.
It's still obviously quite high.
It's still
up.
quite high, and that is Cubitos. I
So
really
fun.
like Cubitos a lot. It's got like a race game. It's kind of like racing Quacks of Quedlinburg is what people kind of compare it to a lot, and that's a fair comparison. But it is so much fun. We're these weird like cube people in this cube world, and you're essentially getting these dice and you're rolling them out, trying not to bust. You can bust in the game, and then you're also buying better and better dice, kind of like Quacks of Quedlinburg, but you're also racing. A lot of these dice will give you mostly money or little featsies, and little featsies allow you to move. You're trying to do one lap around the board, and there's 4 different maps too, which is super, super cool. And all the dice, there's 7 different dice, and they all do different stuff. They all have a special face that's unique to that die, and depending on which powers you're playing with, that die will be completely different. But for each different die, there's 7 different powers.
I know, it's a total economy of
So like the
components.
variability of like what you could do, because you have 4 different maps, you have 7 powers for each of these like 6 or 7 different kinds of dice.
The combinations are infinite.
It's absolutely insane. And then it's just so much fun. And this is one of those games that like I really, really, really enjoy. The production value is great. And it's also one of the things where it's like this game just goes over so well. I feel like every single time we play this with somebody, they're just like, this is so much fun. Kind of like Quacks of Quedlinburg for that matter. It just tends to go over well. Cubitos, same thing. And I love the race aspect. I love the dice are all different. It's just so cool. I also like the push your luck mechanic. I like pushing my luck. I just think Cubitos is great. It came out at the very beginning of the year. So it almost feels like it's not a 2021 game, but it is.
It held up really well throughout the
And
year.
all year I kept being like, Cubitos is probably still my favorite. Cubitos is probably still my favorite. But now the whole convention season's come out, a lot more stuff has come out.
Yeah.
It's not number 1 anymore, but it's number 4. I still really like it. I think Cubitos is great.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. My number 4 is the best filler of all the fillers, I think, recently anyway. It's
Maybe
one
of all
that-
time.
Maybe of all time. It's super duper fun. It's Dice Miner.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic game. It's a dice drafting game where you're drafting out from this little mountain. You're kind of excavating the mountain 3 times. And there's different types of dice. There's tunnel dice that you want to have sets of. They're just kind of standard looking dice. They have 1 through 6. You want to get, starting with a 1, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete a set, and you'll get the sum total of the value of all the pips. There's gems, which are just worth straight up points. There's these danger dice that will lose you points, but there's these like tool dice where if you have like a pickaxe, these cave-ins that would have lost you points now gain you points. There's ability to re-roll via magic
Tons of
dice.
mitigation, yeah.
Tons of mitigation and stuff, but it's ultimately kind of this dice drafting and you're re-rolling those dice and things. So there's a high degree of luck involved. But the whole kind of the way that the mountain gets excavated and stuff is really interesting because you have these beers and stuff. Every die, one of the faces is a beer. And you can basically roll that and pass it to somebody, and then you can take 2 things from the mountain, and it allows you to break some of the rules about how you draft those dice. So there's these like little ways to mitigate something, and I guess ultimately a set collection game, right? It's just different types of set collections. So it's
Absolutely.
super light. It's a really high-end production for the size game it is. The dice are beautiful, really well done. We only have the basic version. There's a deluxe version on top of what we got. And I'm like, the base version is fantastic. It was like $35. I'm like, this is a great
cheap.
product
The
at a great
dice
price.
are really nice.
And you can play it super fast. It's 2 to 4 players. You can play it so quick.
25 minutes max.
Each player has a little bit of power, which basically gives you like virtual die faces that are match the dice you have.
Yep.
It's just great. Dice Miner is just so fun. I will play that with anybody, anytime.
Outstanding.
It's gonna be the best little 20 minutes you ever spent. Love it. I think it's really fantastic. It's my number 4, Dice Miner.
Oof, oof, oof. All right, let's go ahead and get number 3.
Number 3 is a engine building economic auctioning game called Furnace. It's put into a
I knew he'd
small
have it on
little
his list,
package. Furnace rips,
It rips.
so hard.
It's rippable merch, yeah.
Because it's so good, because you are basically these tycoons, these industrialists and stuff
Tycoon.
in the beautiful romantic era when we started populating the planet, adding pollution to the planet.
yeah.
And we didn't know it was bad
Populating
for us
the
yet.
ozone with coal dust.
Yeah, but before we knew that was very bad for us and we should stop that crap, this was in a beautiful time at the beginning of industrialization, and we were out there to make money, and ultimately trying to make money in this game by building an engine. And you're going to build this engine that's going to allow you to convert coal, steel, oil, and things into other resources or into cash, which is the goal ultimately. So you're going to build this cool engine of cards, and that's all good and well and fun. I appreciate that. But the auctioning of how you get those cards and the way that you can
It's
get
what makes the game.
compensated is what makes the game great, because Nick and I are not super into auctioning games. We like them in the right context, or usually if they're on the smaller side and stuff. But this game does a thing where you have 4 discs numbered 1 through 4, and you are going to put them onto cards. And ultimately, whoever has the highest bid will get the card. And the rule is you can't put 2 of your same color discs on the same card, and the same number cannot appear twice on a card.
Yeah.
So if I put down the 4, I'm going to get that card.
Yeah.
No one else can put a 4. There is no higher number.
Yeah.
But if you don't win the card, you get compensated based on what's on the top of the card, which will show steel or oil or coal, or might allow you to do a transfer of something. And you get to do that as many times as the number you put down. So if you put a 4 and I put a 3 and it shows a steel at the top, I get 3 steel.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very imperative, and you actually actively want to not win a bid so you can get the compensation on the top, because oftentimes that might be more valuable for you than the actual thing that the card does.
Oftentimes,
And so it's so cool, the whole idea of like, I'm going to bid on this, or I'm gonna throw down a 2 and I really hope that someone else comes in and outbids me. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. You're like, okay, I'll use this card, but I really didn't want it.
Yeah, right.
And so that is a fascinating little...
And everyone has a special power.
Everyone has a special power.
Person that does stuff,
It's just, it does a lot of great stuff, but it keeps it all contained. It's not very long. It's 4 rounds. The auctioning can't go on and on and on because you only have those 4 discs. It's all contained into a fantastic package, and you build up a really solid engine in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, really quickly.
And every time I play the game, I'm like, I wish this was 1 round longer, but it wouldn't be the same if it was. So
I don't think, I'm at the same boat. I'm like, I like
it leaves you wanting more, and then you get out. Furnace is awesome. It's my number 3.
Yeah, I think Furnace is outstanding.
So good.
My number 3 is, again, I think I like a decent amount more than you, and that is Maglev Metro. Would you agree?
Do. You do.
Yes, I love Maglev Metro. I think Maglev Metro
I think it's solid.
I think it's the 3rd best game of the year.
There you go.
I think Maglev Metro is absolutely incredible. This is a game where
it's really cool.
It's a pick up and deliver game based in
route building,
kind of like the Metro and like some weird magnet rail and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. But basically, you're picking up different passengers and dropping them off at different spots. There's robots, and robots, essentially, when you drop them off the different spaces they want to be, whenever you drop off people, they then go onto your board. You have your main board, and you're essentially putting these into different spots on your board and unlocking stuff. And robots, for the most part, will go into the kind of center of your board. And the center of the board is all of the different actions that you have access to. On your turn, you can only do 2 actions. But it'll be like move, which is you moving your train along the rail, and you're constantly putting out tracks of your color to then move along that rail, and you can only move along your own tracks. It's got these really pretty, very cool, clear tiles so you can see your tracks. Because
I can build on top of yours, and we can each be going the same
direction.
direction.
Because the F line and the G line can go the same way, there's no problem with that, because it's all like kind of subways. But the thing is, and so on there, you can also have like how many passengers you can pick up, how many passengers you can hold, how many passengers you can drop off, how far you can move, all these different things. And when you put robots there, is every time you add a robot to one of those actions, you then increase the strength of that action. So the base is 1, but if I add a robot to the move, then now I can move 2, or I can pick up 2 passengers, and then I can add a 3rd robot, so now I can do it 3. And one of the cool things is there's a spot called Adjust, and what Adjust does is it allows you to then move your robots around. So the game is all about building up your engine, but then constantly ripping it apart and making it work for what you need right now.
Yeah, it is very cool the
and
way
it's
you can do
so
that.
cool. And then you have these other different passengers, these commuters that you're picking up, and they're slotting into different spots on your board, mostly for scoring purposes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's something about this game I absolutely adore. I definitely like it more than you. And this is a game where I love it so much. And there's 2 different boards, and they just announced 2 more boards.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm really excited for that part of like,
And that's
more
my thing.
variety
Yes.
of boards and stuff. And I'm
It
like,
just seems so. We got to see. You actually weren't
Yeah,
there.
you got to see a little-
I got to see 2 of them at PAX. It's like a theme park, and another one with like a big mech robot. It's super cool.
super excited for
And
more.
then I hope they come out with more, because this is one of the games where I just come out with more boards. I just want more boards. And so I'm so excited. I love Maglev Metro. I love it so much. And yeah, I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's a really good production
Oh,
too.
God,
It's very
yeah.
solid, very beautiful. That is number 3 for both of us. Maglev Metro and Furnace. Let's get to number 2.
My number 2, Mike mentioned, it's Dice Miner.
Yo.
Dice Miner is maybe my favorite filler at this point. I think this is probably the best filler out there, at least right now. I think it's so outstanding. We kind of already talked about it, I don't talk about it a bunch, but just, it's so quick, it's so easy to explain. The production value is outstanding. It just freaking works. It's good at 2, it's good at 3, it's good at 4, it's outstanding. I love it. Dice Miner is number 2.
Boom. My number 2 is a tile laying game by the same folks that made Calico, kind of the same team. I'm talking about Flat Out Games here. Not exactly the same people, but they made Cascadia. And Cascadia is a fantastic game where you're taking these hexes that show different types of land, and you're building out this tableau in front of you. And you're always going to be drafting a tile and an animal token. And the rule is you put your tile down anywhere you like. If you can match landscapes to landscapes, it is generally beneficial, but you don't have to.
Yep.
And you can do that. Then you have to take your animal tile and put it on, or token, you put it on any tile that shows that animal on there. There's hawks and bears and elk and things. And all these animals want to be arranged in different ways. Sometimes they want to be grouped together. Sometimes they want to be in a line or a run. Hawks might want to be not adjacent to each other, so you want to spread them out. And it's just this spatial puzzliness, and we really enjoy it because it scratches a similar itch to like a Calico, but it's not as oppressive as Calico is. Calico is so, you're limited and more limited in the amount of space you have. And so it
Yes.
becomes very difficult and kind of agonizing to play. And we enjoy that. But this one is just a little bit more open, but it has the same kind of puzzliness to it about, I want certain animals in certain configurations for certain reasons, but it's just a little bit smoother. And that is such a huge difference to me. I've said this before. Cascadia to me is like probably one of the most infinitely playable games I have ever encountered. I will play
always
that
goes over well.
over and over again
Yeah.
forever because it's just fun to put the little puzzle together. It's just simple enough and accessible enough. It's just quick enough that I don't think I could really probably get tired of it because I'm just like, I'll always be down to put together my little landscape. It looks very beautiful.
Yeah.
Best Double did a great job on the art.
Of course.
Cascadia satisfies for each type of animal. There's 4 in the base game or 5 if you did the Kickstarter versions of each animal. They're all kind of themed similar, but the bears will be slightly different how
Got
they
that
work.
variety.
So you got that variety. I'm in. Cascadia is my number 2.
All right. That's it. Let's get to number 1s. Ooh, let's
Get
get
hype for number 1. So my number 1, Nick didn't even put on his list, and
Wrong.
I am offended.
What's wrong?
It is The Crew Mission Deep Sea.
It's the same game.
Yes, but it didn't let me put The Crew on because it said it was a 2019 game technically. The Crew Mission Deep Sea is incredible.
I love The
It is
Crew.
very similar to The Crew.
It's the same reason why Great Western Trail 2nd Edition wasn't on my list, is because The Crew, it is 99% the same game. Well, not 95, 90% the same game. The way the things work are different, and it
the
does make the
10%
game
is so
a lot better.
good.
But to me, it's like that's too similar to the original game for me to put on my list.
It's so great. The Crew Mission Deep Sea is
I
incredible.
think it's great.
It is a cooperative trick-taking game if you are not aware of The Crew or The Crew Mission Deep
good.
Sea. It's a fantastic cooperative trick-taking game where you're given basically certain tasks. I need Nick to take the 7 of blue and 5 of green.
Yep.
I cannot take any submarines. And our friend Jim Jams over there
Love Jim
can't
Jams.
win any tricks. And we have to figure out ways to play these cards down in order to satisfy all of those to move around. And you kind of go through a logbook of missions and tells a little bit of a story that is fun to read if you care. But really, it just gives you more and more difficult tasks to overcome. You have to do a higher and higher difficulty level of tasks. And with the Mission Deep Sea, the new Crew, what they do is they make it so that you have basically a stack of cards that are different values, and it's based on your player count, so it scales better for sure from lower to higher player counts.
That is very true.
And if it's, I need 9 difficulty, you'll draw cards until you have 9 worth of difficulty. So I might have 9 ones. I might have a 4, a 3, and 2, and two twos, or whatever.
A 5 and a 4,
works.
and that's it.
The point is the breakdown of the difficulty and the amount of tasks will change, and then also that stack is quite big, so the variety of those tasks,
and the tasks are different. There's definitely more variety within the tasks.
Yeah, they're more interesting and stuff. So this is very similar to the crew, but the changes they make seem small, but they are so massively impactful to the enjoyment of the game. And just the simple fact that it scales better from 3 to 5 players, because the same exact task card at a 3-player count might be a difficulty 3, but at a 5 might be a difficulty 1, because it would be easier to do with more players. So that right there, I'm like, that is a genius stroke. Yeah. And it makes all the difference. I love the crew Mission Deep Sea, just like
it's significantly better than the crew. I didn't put my list because I thought it was too similar.
You're right. I mean, it's a very similar, but like to me, I would always default to this version over the other.
Oh, 100%. I'm like, get rid of the old copy, in my opinion. Like, I will never, ever, ever choose the other crew over this one, ever.
No.
So it's
this
like,
one just makes
we might as well,
like $15.
Might as well donate it.
Freaking talk about top dollar value. $15 for that? I'm like, that's amazing.
My number 1 is the true number 1, not that. It's Cascadia.
That's my number 2.
Cascadia should be your number 1 because that's the same game.
How dare you?
Cascadia is my number 1. Mike already talked about it, but this is a game again, like just it's what I like about this kind of weight game where it's like it's just very simple rules. You have like 2 rules in the game, but the puzzle is very complex.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these kinds of games that are coming out right now, and I am here for it. Calico, I was talking to Isaac Vega about this with Keystone North America, kind of a similar game in terms of like, again, simple rules, heavy puzzle. And Cascadia, though, is just so good. I mean, it's just so good. As Mikey said, it just opens up rather than closes down. I like how brutal Calico is, but I need to be in the mood for that kind of brutality.
Yeah,
whereas
I'm always
Cascadia,
in the mood for Cascadia.
I'm always in the mood. Exactly. That's exactly the way to put it. And it's just, and the variety with the cards, it's just outstanding. It's best Sobel art. I mean, it's so good. I'll tell you right now, AEG and Flat Out a lot of times has AEG. That is
4 of your top 10?
4 of my top 10 were AEG Flat Out. AEG this year
fire right now.
Crushing it.
They
I mean, absolutely
really
crushing it. So like AEG Flat Out were killing it this year. That's my number 1, Cascadia. Mikey already talked about it. I think it's so good. I will say this, Mikey. Many of these games we've done playthroughs for.
We have.
I just realized. I think I will put cards if
you
we
have
can.
seen footage throughout this entire video of us playing these games.
So down in the description, there's going to be, or maybe a pinned comment, there's going to be the URL for all these. We've played probably like half of these through on our playthrough. So go check those out, by the way.
Yeah, please do check it out. It's called Game House. We do full playthroughs and stuff, and we've done many of these games because, as you've seen from this, they're some of our favorite games of the year. So of course we've been playing them.
We sure have.
Do check those all out because we think that they're quite good. Really good. We're big fans of those.
We're big fans of them. That's why we keep making them. They're hard to make, and we keep doing them. So it's like,
So anyway, check out Game House for all of your favorite games this upcoming year.
Indeed. And thank you. We always, at the end of our top 10s, thank all of our patrons. Thank you to
2021,
everyone who
we appreciate
supports
you
us.
patrons. Thank you so much.
2021, 2020 has been a tough year for everyone, and yet people still support us, and it's incredible. It's been very touching, honestly.
Humbling
and
for
so
sure.
Thank you so much to our patrons. We love you so much. If you want to support us, you can always check out our Patreon or go to our merch store. There's a couple different ways you can, but we really appreciate y'all. That's our top 10 games of the year. What were your top 10 games of the year? Put it down in the comments below. I want to know. I think this is the year that went under the radar, but was shockingly good. We had a list.
We have many more games that didn't make either of our lists, but are on a very short, like we would play any of those other games and even get a chance to talk about it. It has been a sneakily great
very
year.
Good year. Yeah, very good year. But that's going to be it. Anything else, Maggie?
That's it for us, everyone. Thank you so much for all the support this year. We really appreciate you supporting us through our wacky journeys, like playing all of Gloomhaven in a week. We have a lot of plans for 2022, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of great games. So let's just wrap this out and get to 2022. Put 2021 behind us.
Please.
And look ever forward, and we really appreciate y'all being with us.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching that video. If you want to check out that Gloomhaven video that we talked about, check out that video right there. If you want to see our top 10 game discoveries, those are our top 10 games of the year that didn't come out this year. So games that were new to us, check out that video down there. Really like both those videos, honestly. I think it's cool. I think we're doing cool stuff here.
Check it out.